Elsewhere in the region, Puerto Rico is staring into an economic abyss. The U.S. Commonwealth will officially default on a payment worth $422 million due today. That is after talks to ease the territory's financial crisis ended without a deal. And there is little let up for Puerto Rico, with another $1.9 billion due on July 1st. The island owes a total public debt of around $70 billion. One man who has been on the front line of Puerto Rico's challenges is Luis Fortuno. He's the former governor of the U.S. territory. He joins us now from Washington. Thank you so much for being with us. I mean, $70 billion in total outstanding debt. That is unsustainable. What is the way forward for Puerto Rico at this point?
Economic growth. The underlying problem has been for the last couple of decades that the economy has been underperforming. Actually, if you look back the last 10 years, for the exception of a year and a half between 2011 and 2012, the economy has been in negative territory all along. And with that comes a migratory wave from the island to the mainland. And that erodes your tax base, and actually you lose sometimes your best and brightest in the process.
It seems that it's a vicious cycle right now. We're not seeing a wave. We're seeing an exodus of people fleeing the country, grappling with the Zika virus as well now. I mean, it's a product of no economic growth, but let's face it, it's also a product of gross overspending. That's in the past. What does Congress need to do something? Where does the solution come from now in order to start getting the economy stabilized enough so that you can stop the exodus, you can start to build a base for growth, because you're not there right now?
Of course. On the fiscal side, you need fiscal constraints. I slashed expenses by $2 billion, but the reason why I'm back in my law practice is because that's unpopular. And so Congress is, at this moment, working on a bill that potentially would impose an oversight board, just like Congress did in the 90s with D.C. That's probably needed to not just restrain expenses, but also bring about other changes as well, and not be subject to political whims. Secondly, there must be, at this stage, when you lose your credit, as you know, you lose control of the process. And losing its credit in 2014 has commenced a downward spiral that will probably require some restructuring. And perhaps Congress can assist in promoting consensual agreements on the one hand, and when needed, depending on the credit, some sort of restructuring as well.
Luis, sometimes in these situations, as difficult as they are, it is an opportunity to correct some of the problems of the past, to have an overhaul, to get reforms in place that can develop the kind of economy that would be more sustainable for Puerto Rico. Is there the political will, both on the behalf of the leaders there and of the people who remain, to move in that kind of radical direction?
Well, there's no other choice. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, the economy is the underlying problem. The will has to be there, and if it's not there, it will have to be brought about by an oversight board, and that's what Congress is looking at, but certainly there is no way around it. The people, however, support it. Over 70% of the people support an oversight board appointed by the U.S. Congress, because they understand that they have again, the human resources, but the will has to be there for pro-growth policies to be implemented again.
Luis, we mentioned at the start of this, I mean, you know, Puerto Rico was long thought of as a tropical paradise. I mean, it has so many natural resources it can use. But this situation, it's very hard to win investor confidence back once you're in default in a country that is sitting with the excess of public debt that you have. Do you think this is going to have a lingering negative impact on Puerto Rico? Can they get past this point?